Hello you guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is actually a requested video from one of the many comments that I've read. By the way, I love when you guys request videos, so always drop down below your video recommendations, suggestions that you have, things that you want to hear me talk about, because I would love to make videos that will help you guys out. I would love to give you guys videos and knowledge on the things that you might just need to hear. And I think this video is very important. It's a little bit of a more different style video than just talking about success and money and growth, but it's equally as important, because at the end of the day, a lot of becoming more and achieving more and having more stems from you loving yourself and prioritizing yourself. And this is something that I have worked on so hard, especially these past couple years. And I feel like this video is going to be more so just like as if we're having a talk, we're friends, or on FaceTime, because I don't really have any specific bullet points of what I want to talk about, but I just want to share wholeheartedly what I feel is needed to love yourself and prioritize yourself. And I also want this video to be super relatable to a lot of you girls, because we're all human, and this is something that I feel like so many of us struggle with. And it's so easy to fall off these sorts of things, especially when we have a lot of external factors and circumstances happening around us, especially if you're someone who doesn't have any of these things or does any of these things to begin with. It's very easy to get influenced by all these things happening around us in our lives. But if you have this groundwork down, it's so important, because once you love yourself, once you prioritize yourself, once you have that groundwork done, you have that mindset down pat, it is very hard to let something, someone, things around you bring that down and affect that. It also allows you to hold yourself at a way more high level. And when you hold yourself at a high level, you think better, you perform better, you show up better. So first and foremost is you needing to get to know yourself. Think of when you are trying to get to know someone for a relationship, when you're meeting someone for the very first time and you're trying to genuinely learn them, get to know them, whether that be dating, whether that be making a new friend. That's like a massive learning curve when you're meeting a stranger for the first time and trying to learn everything about them. You might ask questions, you might see what works, what doesn't work, and try new things. So this can come down to asking questions. What do you like to do for fun? What makes you upset? What makes you happy? What is your love language? Generally, the questions you would ask this other person, ask yourself, because you want to get to know yourself. You would be curious and engaged in learning all about this person and this relationship. Think of it, when you start to date that person and you really get to know your partner, you now know what little things to do for them that make them happy. You now know their triggers, so that you know things to avoid around them. You know their love language is gift giving. Now you might say, okay, Christina, that's getting to know my partner. Why don't we do this for ourselves? If our love language is gift giving, why don't we go gift ourselves stuff? Certain things or people or conversations trigger us. Why wouldn't we avoid them ourselves? If we would try so hard to avoid those triggers for our partner, why wouldn't we avoid anything that upsets us or makes us sad or triggers us? So overall, getting to know yourself deeply, ask yourself the questions. Think of all the questions you would ask your partner and ask yourself, and take note of these things. Secondly, what I want you guys to really understand is that happiness comes within, period. Happiness comes from within. We hear this a lot. Yes, so many of us still to this day search for happiness in people, places, things. If your happiness relies on something external that you have no control over, do you guys understand? At the end of the day, that means you have no control over your own happiness. That is a problem. That is what keeps us leeching onto things, leeching onto people, being so scared of losing that person, being so scared of that thing that's working out for us right now, not working out for us anymore. The only thing, as cliche as it sounds, that's always going to be around forever with you every single day is you. So you better fall in love with that person. You better find joy in being with that person. Some things that you do to get there, positive self-talk and compassion with yourself. You need to treat yourself with that same kindness and empathy that you would do your dear friend when you're giving them advice, when you're lending a hand to them, when you're being there to them, when you're just listening to them. How you treat other people should be the exact same way that you're treating yourself. But in reality, it's completely different. You would never say to your closest friend or loved one, you are worthless, you are ugly, you are not worthy of X, Y, and Z. The same things that you would never say to your loved one to hurt them, you should not be saying to yourself. This whole practice is particularly important when it comes to self-doubt, the failures, the adversities that you have in your life. Because I know it's very easy to put ourselves down and come at ourselves when X, Y, and Z doesn't go our way. But again, the same way you wouldn't talk like that to your friend or your loved one, you shouldn't be talking like that to yourself. The way you speak to yourself significantly influences your self-perception of yourself and well-being. So incorporating more positive self-talks and affirmations into your whole daily routine is a very powerful strategy for enhancing this self-love. And some of you guys might be saying, well, how does positive affirmations lead to prioritizing myself? Well, because self-love and prioritizing yourself, I feel like, go so hand in hand, because until you love yourself, you're not going to prioritize yourself. Choosing uplifting and empowering language within yourself, for yourself, shaping your entire internal dialogue. So what you can do is start identifying the areas where you self-criticize yourself, you speak down on yourself, you're negative. Actively work on changing these thoughts. There's a reason why you'll always hear like successful people say, I am, like the powerful affirmations of, I am great, I am worthy, I am. They don't just chant these things because they are constantly telling themselves they are a champion, they are worthy, they're hearing it all the time, they're saying it all the time, and naturally they start believing it all the time. Another way to develop this happiness within is prioritizing self-care. By the way, no two self-care routines are identical. Self-care in general looks completely different to every single person. So if you're seeing that person talking about, journaling and working out, that might not be your self-care routine. It's something that you don't want to do because you might just be Googling self-care routines and you see the take a shower, drink your matcha, read a book, and meditate. And you're doing this and it's just completely not affecting you at all. Well, yeah, because that's not your method of self-care. It helps you. So identify activities that bring you joy, bring you calmness, bring you relaxation, and just that feeling of fulfillment. That can be reading, that can be nurture walks, that can be working out, be taking baths, that can be going on a coffee walk, that can be sitting in a library. That is like one of my favorite things to do, just getting a coffee and just sitting in a library, not even necessarily like a library, like the bookstores, just walking through the bookshelves and, picking up all these books and looking at all these authors that I'm so inspired by because I eventually want to write my own book. It's a huge goal of mine. Genuinely figure out what brings you these feelings. Prioritizing doing these things every single day. Following that is not only prioritizing what makes you feel good, but focusing more on things that you just love. Another important one is having healthy boundaries. Boundaries serve as a protective barrier. It's like you need to be so protective of your space, of your bubble. Just imagine you're in a bubble and that's your safety. This is your sanity, this is your self-love. The minute you let something toxic come in or negative come in, it's literally gonna start infecting that space that you're in. It affects your well-being, it affects your mental state, it affects your energy. So by clearly identifying and communicating your limits, your boundaries to other people, that's you developing self-respect for yourself. This can also fall into the whole topic of not being a people pleaser. So generally, identifying situations, identifying places, identifying relationships, anything that just drains our energy or compromises our health. Once you've recognized all these things that just don't serve you, that leave a bad taste on you, that impact you, taking intentional steps to set boundaries on these areas. This might, look like you communicating your needs and boundaries to certain people. This might mean saying no to certain things or creating physical and emotional space when needed. Even if it feels uncomfortable initially in the start, understand how much of a more positive effect it's going to have on you. Doing this is generally just surrounding yourself with individuals who support you and uplift you. If you're around people that are just constantly negative, constantly nagging, not believing in themselves, relying on X, Y, and Z for happiness, is that going to serve you at all? Absolutely not. But being around the people that love themselves, being around the people that, prioritize themselves and have goals going for themselves or working on themselves, these are the people that you want to be surrounded by. Another thing you're going to stop doing is stop comparing yourself. It's so easy to just completely fall in this trap of comparison, and comparison is literally the thief of all joy. I always say that. Don't compare your story to somebody else's. You do not know what's going on behind the scenes. You also don't know what chapter that they're on. Someone might see me and my success today and right away compare themselves to where I am today, but they didn't see any of the years prior of working towards that, the trials and errors, the hardships. Like, they just see the end result and immediately they're comparing. You also don't see that that person on social media that you're comparing yourself to with the millions of followers, maybe they had one lucky video that went viral. Maybe they had one connection that just got them all these followers. Yeah, you're here beating yourself up over my content sucks, no one likes me, I'm not a person of value. No, you're completely comparing apples and oranges. The minute you focus on your own story is the minute you become way more focused. Ever notice that in those like horse races, like the horses wear blinders? It's so the horses are just only looking straight. They can't look left, they can't look right. They're just focused on looking straight, because when people are looking here and people are looking there at this horse, at that horse, well, people aren't horses, at this person, at that person, then immediately they get distracted. Immediately they get discouraged. They fall off track. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to work on bettering yourself. You need to have goals for yourself. You need to be working towards things for yourself. When you have these things, you're doing things for yourself. It not only allows you to achieve things and become things for yourself, but even with experience, every time I've gone through hard times in my life or anything external, remember external is happening around me, I always know that these X, Y, and Z things are things that I can do to just make myself better, make my life better, work on myself. I have things that I am doing for me that fulfill me, that are getting me closer to my goals, my dreams, just feeling better even. For me, that's working out. For me, that's reading outside on my balcony. I just love doing that for me. I love me a good book. I love sitting on a balcony. I love sitting outside. I just love being outside, whether that's by the water, or if I can go to the water, even better. If I can grab my book and go sit by the lake, sit by water, that feeds me. For me also, that's working on my business, working on my social media. You guys know I do social media for work. I have an online business. So just always plugging into something, again, that's for me. So what does bettering yourself mean to you? Mentally, physically, spiritually, like what are all the things that allow you to work on yourself and get you ahead? Another thing that I will add is learning to love your alone time, learning to love doing things alone. I went from someone who, years back, I thought that for me, weekends, like the weekend, I have to spend it with people. I have to be around my friends, my loved ones. Like I need to spend weekends with people. And that got me to when I had my alone time, when I had a weekend that I wasn't doing something with my friends or with my loved ones, I immediately was like down. But then I started to learn to love my own time, love being with me. Guys, like it's so true when they say it's like the person that you love, like, you love spending time with that person. Like you need to feel that same energy towards yourself. I started to work on loving my alone time. Like I said, for me, sometimes that was just sitting on my balcony for 2 hours with a nice drink, my book, and just reading. Or on a weekend night, making myself a good dinner and sitting down and watching movies by myself. And I did this a little too much, that I love my alone time now. Like literally this past weekend, guys, Friday and Saturday, a girl canceled her plans. I stayed home. I made myself a good dinner. One of the other nights I ordered in. I binge watched this old series that I loved. And I just was sitting there on my couch just in peace, because I have peace within myself. I love being alone. I love my alone time. It can also look like dating yourself, by the way. Learning to go to the movies by yourself. Learning to take yourself out to dinner. This can look like those things that you want to do so badly that you are waiting for someone to go do with you. Go do them by yourself. Once you start doing more of this, you get to a point where you're like, I feel so okay with doing things by myself. And mind you, we're always going to want to do things with our loved ones and friends as well. But you can't be that person that only finds joy, only is okay when doing it with other people. You need to feel this within yourself. And this, literally doing this over and over and over again, will come down to you loving yourself. And you get to a point, you guys, that when you feel this strongly about yourself, your self-worth, your self-respect, your boundaries, loving yourself, all these things, you become such a badass version of yourself that feels better and thinks better. And we know with all the videos that I talk about mindset, when you think better, when you believe better, you do better, you perform better, just overall become a better person, more happy, more positive, more confident. But then also start wanting more for yourself. You start chasing bigger things for yourself. You think you're worthy. You know you deserve better. Put yourself in better situations. You get yourself around better people. Like, it's literally as if like all these things over and over and over and over and over. It's like you put yourself on this pedestal. And I don't care how conceited that sounds. Yeah, you need to put yourself on a pedestal before you try to let any job, any person, or anything do that for you. Like, you need to be the only person that puts yourself on that pedestal. Naturally, when you're on that pedestal, you are going to prioritize yourself more. I talked a lot about like self-love and self-worth, but it's like prioritizing yourself stems from having that self-worth, having that self-love. With that being said, you guys, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to follow me over on Instagram. I'm active on there every single day. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in my next video.